We are hearing some good news, but before we can even process it, everything turns upside down. Today's news is changing minute by minute. I think you understand what I am trying to say. A ceasefire announcement comes as good news. For example, it was said that the US president declared that in one night an entire community or race would be destroyed. But suddenly, within just 3 hours, a ceasefire was announced and everything should be changed. So, just as people began to breathe a little easier, Israel launched attacks in Lebanon and around 250 people died, creating tension again. So now the situation in the world is such that things are very unstable and tense every minute. That's the state the current world is in right now. These are some of the things we are going to look at what had happened. First of all, we have been constantly watching this war news, whether it will be end or not, whether it will happen or not, whether it will lead, what will happen next. Every day people are stuck in confusion from different angles. But the truth is the war is still active. It doesn't look it has come to an end. Maybe the fire on the surface seems to have calmed down a little, but inside it is still burning. At any moment, it could flare up again. That's the current situation. As we already said, the war is ultimately moving toward Israel. Everything is now turning in that direction. Because even after the ceasefire, Israel attacked Lebanon and continues to do so. They say they are discussing ceasefire terms with Lebanon, but at the same time, they are continuing the war. If you observe closely, countries including Russia are exposing opposition. But the next stage of this conflict, if you ask where it is heading, seems to be moving toward a war involving Israel and Russia. Israel's attack on Lebanon has created a negative image worldwide. So definitely this war will move to the next stage soon. That is something we have been saying for a long time and now it seems to be entering the next phase. What is it? This is our interpretation. We are not saying it must happen exactly this way. But as mentioned earlier in Ezekiel 39:2, God says He will draw Russia in hooks. So far, 5 of Russia's allied nations have been attacked. Russia has remained somewhat calm. For example, Libya Gaddafi, Syria its president, Iraq Saddam Hussein, Iran and now Venezuela. These countries which were friendly with Russia have been attacked. Russia has mostly just expressed condemnation. In Iran's case, it has involved itself slightly but only to a limited extent. But there are 6 hooks mentioned. For the 6th one, we have been expecting it to be either Cuba or Turkey. Because in book of Ezekiel chapter 38, it mentions the descendants of Togarma. So we understood that it should be referred to Turkey. But Turkey is the part of NATO and NATO countries are against Russia. When we think about the situation, how can Turkey join with Russia? But when we look closer, Russia and Turkey already have good agreements. Still, the question is how they will come together. Recently, Israel's foreign affairs side made a statement. After dealing with Iran, the next threat to Israel could be Turkey. Even the United States has made direct statements suggesting Turkey might take such actions. Now they are turning towards another nation. Earlier, the US president had also spoken about Cuba. So, among the nations surrounding Israel, Turkey is now being positioned as a key threat. When you look at all this, these are the countries around Israel. Only Russia was somewhat outside earlier. So, according to Ezekiel 38, the direction now seems to be turning toward Turkey. If it is God's will, we will continue to give update about this. Now, we are going to look another important matter. This is about a major development between the European Union and countries like India. According to the Bible, if you observe carefully in the book of Revelation chapter 16, toward the end times, in the final great war, the kings of the east must come to support the Antichrist. It says that a way will be prepared for the kings from the direction of the rising sun. From this, we understood that countries like China and India could be part of this, since they are from the east. This is written in the Bible. Based on this, we also see that European Union could be rising power described as the beast in Revelation 13. They are gradually making agreements with countries like Australia, India and China. In fact, trade agreements have already been made with Australia and India. So these are things we have already observed. Now, what has happened recently in the Iran-Israel issues, India's strategy has been very strong and well handled. The European Union has highly praised India for this. However, despite different opinions, we can clearly see that the European Union is growing closer to India. So this looks like the kings of the East gradually aligning with the European Union. This is another very important point about the European Union. We have already talked about this before. What we discussed was that the America would fall and the European Union would rise. Now if we observe, the differences between NATO countries and the United States are growing bigger and bigger. Recently, when the Vice President of the United States visited Hungary, he openly spoke against the European Union. He said that the strategy taken by the European Union is wrong and unacceptable, especially regarding the issue of Ukraine. So the conflict between the European Union and America is increasing. The European Union is rising and the America is declining. Finally, I want to share one very important thing. Recently, a research report was released from Australia. In that report, they said that the current world population has crossed 8 billion and the earth has reached the point where it cannot be sustained this anymore. Not only that, they also say about 2060, 2070, the population may reach 11 to 12 billion, 1200 crore. Because of this, earth will not able to support a resource anymore. The planet is already in the state of crisis. They mention everything: climate, employment, food supply and water resources all are collapsing or nearing crisis. Indirectly, what they are trying to say is something very serious and dangerous. The population must be reduced immediately. That is the key message. We have already seen in many places and videos about depopulation plans for 2030. Now they are saying that in the next 20 to 30 years, the population will increase by another 2.5 billion, 250 crore. They emphasize that this increase cannot be handled. So they are planning how to reduce this additional population. This directly connects to Revelation 6:8, where authority was given to kill 1/4 of the people of earth. Today, 1/4 would be around 2 billion people. What was written in the Bible nearly 1900 years ago is now being discussed in a similar way today. They are moving towards actions for this and they are planning to act quickly. We have already shared many updates about what actions they might take. Now they have started implementing some key steps. If it is the Lord's will and He is coming is delayed, we will meet again in the another session. Please pray for our ministry. The same topics are also being discussed YTv. Do watch those too. God bless you.